The most famous Italian mafia clan, Cosa Nostra, has been operating in the United States since the beginning of the last century. According to the FBI, Cosa Nostra poses a threat to U.S. national security. The syndicate is most active in the United States in New York and some parts of New Jersey. There are representatives in Philadelphia, Detroit, as well as Chicago and New England. The syndicate is made up of families. The most influential of them are the Bonanno, Colombo, Gambino, Genovese and Lucchese families. The basis of the Mafia syndicate are brigades led by capos. Members of Cosa Nostra must be of Italian descent. They are obliged to prove to other members of the syndicate their usefulness and ability to bring income to the family. Each member of the Mafia must always be ready to commit acts of violence. The LCN became the most notorious and influential criminal organization in the United States during Prohibition. It was the most powerful in the country until 1990, when American intelligence agencies began to actively fight the syndicate. The criminal power of the Italian mafiosi was shaken by immigrants from the former republics of the USSR who began to fill the United States. A feature of the LCN is the ability to fully control the criminal markets in vast areas. To maintain their influence, members of the crime syndicate use such tools as threats, violence, bribery, and blackmail. The LCN is the only mafia clan in America that works closely with unions. He uses them to put pressure on business owners. The FBI estimates that the total number of Cosa Nostra members in America is approximately 1,100 to 1,200. Despite the small number of members of the criminal syndicate operating in the United States, they cause enormous harm to the state. In addition to the main members of the syndicate, it has associate members who work for specific families. Their number is estimated at 10,000 people. Recently, Cosa Nostra has been having great difficulty recruiting new members. You can get into the syndicate only on the recommendation of one of its authoritative members. After being accepted into the clan, recruits undergo an initiation ritual. Each member of the Cosa Nostra is bound to the Mafia forever by an oath, the violation of which is punishable by death. An example of such punishment is the execution of the Genovese family in 1998. They were eliminated for embezzling other people's money, which they had to transfer to the leaders of the syndicate. The Italian Mafia in the United States operates on the basis of a strict hierarchical structure. Although it is similar to the Sicilian structure, the modern organizational structure of the American Mafia was created by Salvatore Maranzano in 1931. All members of the Mafia are called, which translates as people in a strong position, or mafiosi. This means that they are inviolable in the underworld. With the exception of accomplices, all members of the family are mafiosi. The most important position in the family is the boss, or godfather, Don. He is the head of the family and receives information about any deed performed by each member of the family. It is possible that ordinary family members may not personally know their leaders. The boss, Don, or godfather is the head of the family. The boss is elected by the capo's vote. In the event of a tie in the number of votes, the assistant boss must also vote. Until the 1950s, all family members generally participated in voting, but later this practice was abandoned because it attracted the attention of law enforcement agencies. The underboss or henchman is the deputy boss, the second person in the family, who is appointed by the boss himself. The henchman is responsible for the actions of all capos. In the event of the arrest or death of the boss, the henchman usually becomes the acting boss. The consigliere is the family's advisor, a person the boss can trust and whose advice he listens to. He serves as an intermediary in resolving disputes, mediates between the boss and bribed political, union or judicial officials, or acts as a representative of the family at meetings with other families. Consigliere usually do not have their own team, but they have significant influence in the family. However, they usually also have legitimate businesses, such as practicing law or working as a stockbroker. A capo regime, or captain is the head of a team or combat team, consisting of soldiers, who is responsible for one or more types of criminal activity in a certain area of /U200B/U200B a city and gives the boss a monthly share of the income received from this activity, sends a share. There are usually 6 to 9 such teams in a family, and each of them has up to 10 soldiers. The capo is subordinate to the assistant or the boss himself. The performance in the capo is made by an assistant, but the boss personally appoints the capo, sotto capo, or lieutenant, capo's henchman. He is engaged in the same business as the capo. If the capo dies or is in prison, then the lieutenant becomes the captain of the group. The soldier is the youngest member of the family, who was introduced into the family, firstly, because he proved his usefulness to her, and secondly, on the recommendation of one or more capos. Once selected, a soldier usually ends up on the team whose capo recommended him. An accomplice is not yet a family member. but already a person endowed with a certain status. He usually acts as an intermediary in drug deals, acts as a bribed representative of a trade union or businessman, etc. Non-Italians are usually not accepted into the family and almost always remain in the status of accomplices. When a vacancy arises, one or more capos may recommend that a useful accomplice be promoted to soldier. If there are several such proposals, and there is only one vacancy, the boss selects the candidate. Law enforcement continues to view the Mafia as the largest criminal organization in the United States. The Mafia retains control over much of the criminal activity in the United States and a small part of Canada. Despite the increase in the number of street gangs and other organizations, the Mafia remains dominant throughout the east coast of the United States. Thank you for your attention.